Galen.
Oni.
After last week's episode, we got like so many emails.
Well, good. I'm glad that we have people being involved with the show.
No, they were mad. They were super upset that we didn't talk about this thing.
Wait, what did we not talk about?
All right, here it is. You ready?
I'm holding on to my seat.
We haven't talked about cats.
On that note, my cat just poked me on the shoulder. Does that count?
The movie!
Oh, do we have to?
Have you not seen Cats?
I refuse to see cats. It scares me.
Are you weak? Is this an admission of weakness?
When it comes to, what is it, Android Lloyd Webber? Yes, I will admit weakness and stay as far away as I can.
Well, that's the podcast. Oni Dino is the strongest, and Galen is the weakest, and that's really all we were doing this for, so good night. Hello, my beautiful professors. Friends, thank you for joining us today on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 63. My name is Oni Dino. With me, I have a disgraced Fire Emblem Three Houses professor. His students made complaints about the advances that he made against the female students. It's Galen.
You know, they say you have tenure, but they really don't let you know to what extent.
Not to that extent, Galen. You were like, oh, Hilda, I think that you need some private lessons because you're just not picking up this subject.
I think you need to stay after class. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. I'm kind of creeping myself out with this joke, so let's move on.
Yeah, but, it's fine. So, this is my favorite podcast episode ever. Not really, but whatever. Because so much happened this week completely related to Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Your favorite game that you haven't beaten.
That is a low blow. I don't know, it's a low blow, but I accept it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I'm standing there and being like, go ahead, kick me right between the legs. I love it. Anyway.
Now who doesn't have tenure?
Shut up. What? Anyway. That was not even a... Anyway, moving on. Fire Emblem Three Houses, so much stuff happened this past week. The Smash Direct happened this past week with the 5th DLC character announcement, and boy, did literally everyone have opinions.
Still another non-generalized
Hey.
Nintendo Direct
Hey,
game.
we are not there yet. Do not even start having opinions.
Okay.
Plus, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore just came out.
Oh, what's that game again? I haven't heard you talk about it.
Well, you're gonna hear it.
Oh, alright.
So we have so much to talk about in this upcoming episode and more in the future. So let's get into it. Except that let's not. Let's just remind you, lovely listeners, that we're a weekly show. Episodes go live every Sunday, bright and early, blah, blah, blah. On all the podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Spotify's been really blowing up for us, too, in the past couple of weeks. So thank you very much to everybody who's been recommending us and, I don't know, subscribing or whatever. I don't know how it works. I don't know. So, since I don't know, what you gotta do is please leave us a recommendation. Please, subscribe, all that junk. Leave us the feedback, especially iTunes. You can do the 5-star thing. You can write a nice little blurb that recommends us to everybody. That is insanely helpful for us to grow with the algorithm organically, because organic growth on the internet is one of the hardest things ever. Right, Galen?
Yeah. 100%.
Galen is still a seedling. He has not sprouted thanks to the lack of organic growth. You can water Galen and fertilize him by leaving a
Whoa, no, this is the internet.
No.
Please do not fertilize me.
Fertilize him all over him by leaving us a review and doing all that stuff. Please, very much thank you.
And here I was going to go with the joke of I'm still at the low levels because you'll never take me into battle. You'll just keep me, like, in the actual academy. But, yeah, I don't know how to take that joke.
That's because you have not studied your heavy armor skill well enough.
Well, you haven't given me the private lessons.
Well, maybe you should make yourself more enticing for the private lessons. Maybe you were asking for it dressed like that.
What?
I don't know. This will be a weird episode.
This is going to be a weird episode.
I am currently out of my mind. I took a little trip, so I am currently on the time zone of not good, and so you know what? My sentence doesn't even need to explain it. My lack of sentence explained it. Let's just move on.
Taking trips, ladies and gentlemen.
No, ladies and gentlemen. Lords and...
Miladies.
Oh my god, I'm firing you. Never. Ectogamete. Never without my permission, okay?
So satisfying. So satisfying.
Ectogamete. Do you know what that's from?
No.
That's from Fifth Element.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Well, fake moviegoer confirmed.
Alright.
Alright, Adventure Log.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
She knows it's a multipass. She knows.
Wait, how are you Bruce Willis in this situation?
How am I not always Woos Brillis? My favorite actor is Woos Brillis. So, Galen, let me tell you about this game.
What game is this?
This is a game we talked about a bit on the podcast last week. Star Ocean First Departure R on the Switch.
Nice.
Thanks to the power of Nintendo Switch, long plane rides are a thing of the past because you can just sit there and cram that screen right in your face. So,
okay.
So on the flight, I got in quite a bit of gaming, which is great. Played lots of Star Ocean. This is the perfect game plane.
This is the perfect game to make into a paper airplane and fly. Very difficult to do with a digital copy.
I hate you. So, we talked about it last week where I mentioned kind of the premise and set up like what is Star Ocean, right? Like this big JRPG heavy-hitting series that I feel like not enough people talk about.
Yep. And to refresh everybody's memory who might not have caught last episode, it is a JRPG.
Also, why didn't you catch last week's episode?
It's a JRPG that utilizes and combines different elements from not only kind of high fantasy but also sci-fi at the same time.
Yeah. So it's got some of the like the mysticism and stuff that things like Star Wars.
You gonna talk about Star Wars again?
No. Shut up.
When you level up, do you get more midichlorians? Oh my god, is that your MP?
You're ruining this episode, just like you ruined everything.
I am going to break you this episode. I am going to break you, finally.
Anyway, it's got the mysticism of like things like Star Wars in it, and it's also got the heady themes and the, what do I want to say, like sociological questions, social sciences kind of aspects of Star Trek to it. So this is definitely a game for, nerdy nerds that like to think about these little things.
Of the nerdiest of the nerds.
So I've been playing quite a bit more of it, and I do have to address right away like the story differences that I did not anticipate. So I've played most of the games in this series. This is the most recent entry to come out. It's a remake of the Super Famicom, like I said. It's the PSP version that got an HD upgrade and some quality of life features, all that good stuff. So this is a great one to jump in like right away if you're going in fresh. The story, at least for the beginning half of this game, seems to take place on your first planet, your home planet, and you're kind of traveling through time to handle some of the crises that you have encountered in the very, very beginning of the game. trying to keep it vague, for spoilers and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting because, like, especially when I think of Star Ocean, even though I played like a ton of Star Ocean 2, Star Ocean 3 comes to mind. It was just a very impressionable story where you were going from a couple of different planets and going between different characters and stuff. And this one is a smaller scale in comparison to all of the Star Ocean games, which have a very large scale.
Okay.
So for that merit, it's great to just jump into this game. Some of the positives I wanted to say about my experiences so far: it is really briskly paced. Nothing like ever feels stale. You're going from town to dungeon to the next town to the field to this to that. Everything is just constant forward progression. It feels really good for that.
Well, that's good. With the progression, I know that in other games you've been able to go to different planets and different worlds. Is it a similar thing in this game?
No, this one is, for lack of better word, a bit more linear. There is a driving objective, and you're following that objective.
So this is Final Fantasy 15.
No. This is Star Ocean, and that's when I kick you into that hole in the ground.
But you said driving objective.
Oh my god. Now I need to expand on those two things that we just talked about. Overall, with the way that the story goes, the objective gets a little bit muddled due to the amount of optional metaphorical paths that you can take. So this game is really interesting in that when you play through this game and you do multiple playthroughs of the game, you're going to have different experiences because there are optional side quests that lead you to your next thing in the story that you can do. And you can't always do everything. It's not like you go to the town, you get 6 side quests, and you do all 6 of them, then you progress the story. It's not like that. It's more like there's a couple of things happening right now in the world, and you have to choose whether you ignore it or whether you do it. And if you do one thing, or if you recruit one character, you maybe can't recruit another character because of the decision that you made over here. So decisions that you make affect how the story is going to play out and how you can access other characters. So this game really encourages multiple playthroughs because, I mean, it changes everything up to the point of, like, battle and gameplay. It's very ahead of its time, and I forgot just how ahead of its time this game was.
Would you say that it goes all out on those multiple choices on akin to something like Chrono Trigger?
That is a tough comparison because Chrono Trigger definitely had more freedom, at least for where I'm at right now in the beginning half of the game. In the latter half of Chrono Trigger, it really opened up, and it was like, okay, go ahead, go to all of these different times in history, and you can do all these side quests and stuff, and they were character-driven side quests, so that really opened up. I can't really speak to that right now just because I'm too early in the game compared to something like that with Chrono Trigger, where that was, later in the game.
Yeah. One would say that they would be considered time zones.
One would also say shut up.
And they have every right to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Please continue.
One would have every right. So some other positives about the game. The skill system in this game, I forgot just how it worked and how logical it was. Now, of course, perfectly for the kind of story that Star Ocean is, the Star Trek kind of story, it makes great logical sense with the skill system. You basically buy these books from the skill guide or skill guild, whatever, and you read your books, and then you learn these different interests that your characters have, and you level up those interests through points. You don't have to study art and then, you know what I mean? It's not like that. But you level up your points through leveling up, and sometimes your skills that you level up don't do anything. It's just like interest in art and interest in drawing. Those things have no impact on anything. But when you get, just for example, your art appreciation level up to, say, level 3, and you're drawing up to level 2, then suddenly you gain the ability to replicate an item.
Whoa.
Yeah, so do you get what I'm saying here? Where it's like you're kind of leveling up your interests, and it's like sort of like a character building thing, and then suddenly it turns into like a, for lack of a better word, tangible skill that you can use. And then if you level up your drawing and your art interests more and more, then you get better at replicating items.
Huh.
And then that's how everything else works. That's how you learn cooking and pickpocketing, scouting for mysterious items, appraising items that you don't understand. It's just like, it's nerdy and fun, and I really appreciate those little touches.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool actually. So you're saying it's like all of your characters go into their certain roles while you're playing this game.
Kind of, because like everybody has access to the same thing in terms of interests and whatnot, so you can focus on whatever for one character. You can be like, okay, this is the character that's going to be my chef.
Huh. Okay.
So overall, just a really great kind of nostalgic feeling JRPG. I feel like I'm right back in 1998 playing PlayStation 1 JRPGs.
That's exactly where you want to be your entire life.
Always. I am constantly in between 1990, 91 and 99. That's where I'm always at.
You know, hot tip for you. I hear that Nintendo's coming out with a new console called the N64.
You know what? Considering how much I love the PlayStation, N64 was, in retrospect, kind of a letdown. Coming off the heels of the Super Nintendo, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I get strung up by all of the listeners by saying what I just said,
dig your own grave there.
I'll fight you from it. It is not a grave. You might think it's a grave. It is a moat, and you can't get me.
You sure? You can reach from all the way down there?
I'm not a tactician.
And that's why you've never beaten Fire Emblem.
Shut up. Wow. Pot calling the kettle black, Mr. Fake Gamer over there who has never beaten a Zelda game in his life. That's right, calling you out on this. Never beaten a Fire Emblem game.
False on both accounts.
Galen.
Oni.
What Fire Emblem game have you beaten? Don't say Awakening. I know you haven't.
What was the first one for actually the first two for the Game Boy Advance in the States? I think it was just Fire Emblem, right?
Yeah, in the States it was just called that. It was either called the Blazing Blade or the Blazing, or the Burning Booty. I don't remember.
No, that was a different Fire Emblem game. That was actually a Flash game. You could only play it on the internet.
That was a doujinshi. Anyway, back to Star Ocean, and stop ruining this episode like you always do. Very briefly, I just wanted to mention just a couple of negatives that I have about the game. Selecting enemies to attack is a little bit clunkier than I remember in battles. It hasn't hindered my experience, but it's just not as precise as some of the later entries. Like 3 comes to mind, of course, where you had, very much full control. With this one, and I feel like you could do this in the second one, and maybe I'm just not selecting the options correctly, but when you go to attack, you don't just attack. So if there's nothing there, then you'll just attack and nothing will be there. But you will run over to the enemy to attack, and I usually don't like that. That's in a lot of Tales games as well, but I thought that they changed it, or at least they had an option to totally change that, and so far I kind of haven't found that in this game. So maybe it comes a little bit later or whatever.
That's odd.
Yeah, I mean, kind of not. It's odd that there isn't an option for it, at least that I've found so far. So hopefully there is that in there. But like I said, hasn't hindered my experience, but it is a little bit of a bummer. And then this is like something that's highly specific to me, but the party structure in the early parts of the game. So far, I have 3 melee fighters. I don't have like a healer or a spellcaster or something like that. That means that I have to use items to heal myself and heal my poison afflictions. And Galen, you know about my mind goblins. I don't like to use items in JRPGs.
That's what they are there for.
No, No, items are for you to look at and to acquire until max amount, usually 99, and stay there, because what if you need them later?
Yes. What if you need your 86 potion or your antidotes that only heal poison and nothing else?
What if?
I feel like there should be some sort of like rehabilitation center for JRPG players who refuse to use their items.
I want to go to there.
I would actually watch that episode of Hoarders. I'm not gonna lie.
As long as I get to like walk on screen and throw glasses of wine in people's faces.
Oh, that's like how they introduce you.
My name's Onidino. I have IBS. And also, I do not use items. I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to be number one.
You do that voice way too well. Like, you just slip into that persona without even trying.
I wasn't trying, and that is scary.
Personal commentary.
Oh my goodness. What is this? We're trying to talk about Star Ocean right now, and you're ruining this episode for the 19th time. Anyway.
Sorry, get back to your ABS.
ABS? Active Battle System? I have recommendations for our lovely listeners.
Okay.
Okay. Do check out the GameFAQs guide by, I want to say it was called Ricky Chan or something like that. I will try and put a link in the description on this. Anyway, check out that GameFAQs guide not for the walkthrough, but for the pointers that they have and the information on recruiting characters. So like the first character that you could potentially recruit, if you recruit him later on in the game, you can't recruit another character. And so they kind of let you know like, oh, if you recruit this character, you know, something like that or whatever. So that way you can be like, oh, okay, I'm going to play like this or I'm going to play like that. That way you can make your own decision, but it makes it a little bit more informed of a decision.
Yeah.
And they also tell you about like certain skill suggestions. Like, for example, I recommend getting to, God, what was that second town? I forgot the name. But getting to that like second town and getting the, I think, knowledge level 2 book. This is all in the description. And then leveling up this skill called determination, because that lowers the SP count for all of the other skills that you're going to level up. So it's kind of the long con. You end up, you know, using less SP over the course of time, and you end up leveling your stuff up faster, as long as you're in it for the long game.
Okay.
So lots of recommendations for our listeners. Please do. Oh, I forgot. We should have done the social whatever the thing at the beginning. Whatever. Clearly, this is just us chilling out on this podcast. This is like the most like stream of consciousness, most like authentic, real, raw, the Real Housewives of Nintendo Everything podcast ever. Galen, help me out. I'm crashing and burning.
Remember, if you want to watch Oni crash and burn, to like, comment, and subscribe, because apparently that's a thing. I feel that's where you're going to at, right?
You have caught on fire, and now we're both going down with the ship.
This is fine. I'm sitting at my table drinking my coffee. This is fine.
Please do check out Star Ocean First Departure R on the Nintendo Switch. I'm having a great time with it. And if you have questions or something like that, I'm happy to help you out. So you can contact me on Twitter at Oni_Dino. And just come join the party. I'm over here in a fort in a warm PlayStation blanket playing Star Ocean First Departure R. And I'm like, come join the briskly paced JRPG experience, guys. Come on.
Oni, I have a personal question for you. Kind of related to what you were just talking about. Do you prefer to, on a game where there are missable characters or missable items or anything like that, do you prefer your first playthrough to be blind, or do you prefer to know that stuff going into it before you experience it for the first time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It really depends on the game.
Yeah.
I guess mostly I like to go in blind. Mostly. I just like to know that, yes, this is the kind of game. as opposed to me going into it thinking that, like, it's not like that. Because that way I can have that kind of mindset ahead of time. That way I know that, like, my certain decisions are going to have weight to them. Because some JRPGs, you know, it's like, oh no, my best friend got kidnapped. Hold on, that girl over there would like me to slay 8 bunnies in the area so she can give me 100 gold pieces. My girlfriend who is kidnapped or whatever, she can stay over there while I slow down the pace of the story, and it has no effect. But if there's a game like that I know that it has effect, I like to know that ahead of time. Does that make sense? Is that sitting on the fence?
No, I don't think it's sitting on the fence. I think that definitely makes sense.
So that's Star Ocean First Departure R on the Nintendo Switch. I'm sorry I'm losing my mind. Come over to Twitter and talk with me about it, though.
That's assuming you had it all to begin with.
Hey.
Am I wrong?
Hey.
Am I wrong?
Hey. I'm literally not correcting you. All I'm doing is sharply saying hey at you. So Galen, why don't you tell me about Killer Queen Black on the Switch?
Yeah, this game is definitely unique. I haven't played a party action game like this in quite some time. And that's really like the best way that I could kind of describe it. So for those who don't know about the game, you basically play as either one of 3 little cute drone or pudgy drone guys, or you play as the queen. And you play against a team of the exact same people on the other side. And what's unique about it is that there are 3 different ways to win. It's a competitive, team-based game. So you can either win by defeating the other queen as a military victory, and you have to kill her 3 different times. You could win by collecting these little berries or orbs as a resource. And each stage, I can't remember if each stage is a little bit different or each stage is the exact same quantity. But you collect the resource, you bring it over to your side, you're good to go. If you can do that before the other team does, you win. Or there is the snail victory, where there is this big-ass snail right in the middle of the map. And if you go over and hop in it, you can move it in your direction. If you can get it to your side, you win.
So this is a big, like, single screen, kind of like arcadey experience, right?
Yes.
Where there's a bunch of characters working toward multiple different objectives to gain points or whatnot, just so they can be the team that wins. It's a team versus team kind of thing, right?
Yes, and the main thing is that if you can finish one of these 3 criterias, your team wins that round. And these rounds go by pretty quickly.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The average round lasts maybe about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I mean, depending on the teams that you're going up against. It's really fast-paced and it's really bada bing, bada boom. And I can't stress how chaotic everything is.
But Galen, considering that you yourself are a, in your own words, pudgy drone, and then I myself am a queen, would you say that if we fought each other in this game, that I would definitely win?
No, not at all. Like, I cannot stress how different the game changes if you decide to play as the queen.
Yeah, but I'm better at video games than you, so...
Yeah, let's not get into that right now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what's interesting is that as the drone, you can actually upgrade your drone. There's a number of different, if you bring those resources I was talking about, if you bring one over to a particular area, then you can upgrade and you become a warrior drone in a sense. And some of them have, you know, you can get guns and shoot across the map. Some of them you get a giant sword and can fly around. Some of them you can, you get a big mace and you swing it around in a circle. Like, there's a number of different classes that you can kind of go into once you get this character. But as the queen, you have to fly over to the areas in order to unlock them for your team to use. And the other team will not be able to use it if it is in your color. But the opponent or the opposing queen can fly over and change the color just by doing a pass by on it. So it's this weird, give and take of how many areas do you want to leave open for your team to upgrade and make themselves better versus flying around and, focusing on making sure the snail doesn't make too much traction or trying to take out the opposing queen. And the queens and the drones also have the ability of flight, so they can fly around the stage where the drones can only walk around.
Like a game of joust.
Yeah, some of the combat actually turns into that. It is just a giant jousting session.
So a lot of micromanaging and a lot of chaotic gameplay that sounds perfect for parties, drinking, and ruining friendships and developing them.
Absolutely.
Just like Smash Bros.
I will say that my experience with the game so far has not been 100% complete because I've only played it solo online with other random people.
Okay.
There is no mic communication that I've been doing or anything like that while playing it.
Oh god, why would you do that?
But I could tell right from the beginning, if this is a game that you want to play, make sure that you are playing it with your friends, because that is where you're going to... I can see this being an absolute blast playing with a couple of your friends over.
Yeah, from the sounds of it, I could too if I had friends.
If you didn't scare them all away.
Hey.
No arguments, just hey.
0 arguments and a lot of introspective crying deeply. But for those of us who don't have friends, there's online play, of course.
Yeah, I cannot stress how much potential this game has, but I think you definitely need to have the right mindset when you're going into it. So I'm going to be trying this game a little bit more, and I'm really excited to see more aspects of this game. Plus, all the drones you can put in little costumes, and I absolutely love the costumes that they have there.
Oh, like what?
One of them has little stripes, and it reminds me of a little sailor shirt in a little bit. And then there's one where it just looks like leather straps around it. So yeah, it's the range
Daddy
of
drone
humor in the... Yeah, Daddy Drone. The range of humor is definitely appreciated. So, I don't know if you can unlock more costumes. I'm really hoping you can. But yeah.
I do know that they do have more content coming out with updates in the near future. And
maybe it's a good time that I picked this game up then.
Maybe we'll also hear more about it next week on the podcast.
Maybe.
What?
I don't know.
What? You said that like strong bad. Way for babies.
There's a dated reference.
It's super
it's
dated.
Still back
but
in 1998.
You know what? Shut up. Strong Bad and Homestar Runner still funny today. Okay.
That's true. Have you seen that one thing? It's a banana with maracas, and he's just dancing back and forth saying peanut butter and jelly time. It doesn't sound funny when I say it, but you just gotta watch the video.
Yeah, guess what? Never has been funny. Ugh. So Galen, I have one more game though to tell you about. To balance out my chill JRPG time with Star Ocean, I played a new indie game called Super Crush KO.
Okay, I'm gonna be interesting to see what nerddom you link to this one, so go on.
Not okay, KO.
Oh,
First person ever to make that joke. High-fiving a million angels.
I'm stunned by your wit.
And my beauty.
By your wit.
And my comedic timing. And my wit.
Comedy comes in threes, right?
No, according to you, you just repeat the joke over until everybody laughs, or until Onidino cuts it out.
Yeah, that sounds about right, actually.
And my wit. Shut up. Anyway, you may remember, lovely listeners, and also Galen, not so lovely, me talking about Super Crush KO a couple of times on this podcast before. I mentioned it probably sometime after E3 because that's when I got my hands on it and talked to some of the developers there. They were all super cool people, and that demo felt so polished back in like June of 2019. So the game is finally out now on Nintendo Switch. This is a score chaser beat 'em up, I guess I'm gonna call it. Where you string combos together, dodge attacks, learn enemy patterns, assess the whole screen, and it's all done with a highly stylized bit of flair. These are the same developers that made Graceful Explosion Machine, and early adopters of the Nintendo Switch will remember this game for sure back when the eShop was in its infancy. And if you can remember like what that game looked like, Graceful Explosion Machine, you'll see the DNA of that game in this game, Super Crush KO. It's very stylized, lots of hectic, chaotic stuff happening. This one I want to say though is more forgiving than that game is. I don't know, that game was more of a shooter. This game is a brawler. And it might just be that I'm better at brawlers than I am at shooters. I know that that's a fact for me, but I definitely had an easier time with this game in a positive way.
Okay.
So the story of this game is you're just a girl chilling out in her bedroom with her cool cat, and a humanoid alien lady busts in. She steals your cat, whom you find out is literally the cutest and best cat in the universe, and that's why the alien wants her.
That's a pretty tall order to live up to, so, you know, that cat had better be pretty damn cute.
Yeah, but, I mean, cats, the way that they are, they're kind of like, that's my title. And if you have any doubt that that's what mindset that cats have, you can go see Andrew Lloyd Webber's new film in theaters today.
No, I'm cutting this out of the episode.
You don't even have creative control.
I'll find a way.
No, you won't. So it is a great, simple setup for a beat 'em up where your friend is kidnapped or your girlfriend is kidnapped, taken hostage, and you gotta go save him from the bad guy. Very classic beat 'em up story. So back to the gameplay, you're moving from screen to screen, and all of these alien enemies are appearing on the screen, and all of them have like well telegraphed, what do I say, like attack patterns, so that way you can anticipate attacks when there's like tons of them on screen. There's ones that shoot, ones that attack horizontally, ones that rush, ones that have, you know, a strong defense and you can't stun them with just like simple hits. You know, all of the good stuff, all of the hits. And then also, I made this kind of comparison click in my head recently when I was playing it. I was like, wait a second, there's a little bit of Bayonetta vibes in this. So I say that because this is a score chaser game where you're trying to string together your combos and keep things going. You can use your gun, you got a gun, in between combos when you can't, you know, get close to an enemy and, you know, hit them close range, so that way you can keep your combo going. It's just a very fluid and fast-paced way of fighting, and it never got old. Not that this is a long game by any means. It's, you know, really well-paced game, but I just never got tired of it.
So you were happy to pull your not devil trigger.
I pulled my kitty trigger.
What?
Because I'm going after my cat. But I understand your confusion, because yes, that did sound weird and gross.
Yeah, that really did.
Anyway, visually, if you have not seen screens of this game or gameplay, you should check it out. It has a very highly stylized visual style. Boy, it's allow myself to introduce myself. It's just terrible writing. The setting is vaguely futuristic, where there's lots of neon colors, lots of like baby blue, magenta, and salmon pink. It's a very specific color palette that they're going with, and they do it really well. I do have one issue though with the visual design, in that it gets a little samey by World 3.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the game is like structured, you know, by worlds, and there's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 stages per world. And by World 3, I was kind of like, I feel like the game is, you know, it's kind of shown me its hand, right? And it has no new tricks up its sleeve by then. It's not that big of a deal for me, but it's just a little criticism, you know? I like to not just like talk about like all the good things only, because I don't think that that's fair critique.
It actually kind of reminds me of like, this is going to sound weird, but bear with me. If you took the Messenger and combined it with the color palette that you would find in something like Powerpuff Girls.
Oh, yeah, I definitely see the Powerpuff Girls kind of thing. Did you say the Messenger, though?
Yeah, the Messenger, like the
Messenger is pixelated, though.
Well, this is still kind of pixelated.
It's not. Like, everything... I don't know if this is correct or not, like, maybe the art designer can tell us, but everything seems to be, like, very vector-based.
I definitely see that.
Yeah, and the Messenger is, like, sprites. But... you're 1 for 2, Galen. Because yes, Powerpuff Girls vibes for sure.
Yeah.
Boy, am I a jerk. You're just trying to be like, oh, here's my impression and little comparison, and I'm just like, no.
You know, that's what you get for somebody who recommends to go see Cats.
There's a scene in that movie where there are cockroaches with human faces, and then the cats eat the cockroaches with human faces, and then they take off their suits of cats, and then they're just more cats underneath, and they look naked and unsettling.
Listen, I know earlier in the episode you said that you took a trip. You don't need to like double down on that comment. So.
Oh.
What the hell?
I'm out of my mind right now. I'm sorry. Do you never do the fake laughter, but then you end up like making yourself laugh? Have you never?
I'm sure that's happened once or twice. It's weird being on the opposite end of that.
I'm loopy right now. I'm sorry. Going back to this, you're ruining this episode. You, not me, but you. Going back to this game, like, of course, it being a brawler, it has really good sound design, and I think that is one of the areas that this game definitely excels in. That's super important with a brawler, because you have to, you know, there's so much stuff going on the screen, you're paying attention to all this different stuff, you have to hear the sounds as well, and let that be some of the feedback that you get. So, like, when you get hit, or when you hit an enemy, or do a special attack, or when an enemy, you know, that you're not even looking at fires a projectile, you have to hear that, not just see it. So they nail all those things really well. Very, very polished in that aspect.
Nice. And I'm definitely getting that from your description. Like there definitely seems to be a lot of polish that kind of went into this game.
Yeah, totally. I do have to say though that the music, like, it's a nice synthy and upbeat sound, but nothing really stood out to me in the music department. Maybe it's because I was engrossed in the battle system, because that gets intense. But it did kind of fall in the background, which, depending on how you look at it, can be a positive or a negative, because nothing was annoying or hindered my experience or anything like that. But there wasn't anything that, like, I heard that got me, like, super pumped, that, like, some brawlers, you know, can have, like, really outrageous butt rock or something like that you're like, yeah! You know what I mean? There was nothing like that. So this is, like, on the surface, a chill experience, but you're actually like, whoa, wow! You know? I'm losing my mind. Oh, and lastly, what I did want to say is that there's a whole bunch of cute names associated with food that you pick up, and then that's how you learn new moves. They introduce moves to you in a really well-paced way, where it's like, hey, here's your move, now keep using it, and then the next stage will give you another move, and then you can keep using it. And then by the time that you gain all your moves, and like, I want to say, like, in World 1 you get all the moves. Maybe it's in World 2, but by early on in the game, you get all your moves, okay. And then from then on, it's about, like, meeting new enemies with new enemy patterns and stringing together all your things to just be crazy all over the game, all over the screen. And
have you found a particular move set that you, like, is your go-to?
I like to do a little bit of combo on the ground, smack them up into the air, jump up there, and do some air combos. I'm very much an air fighter. That's why I always loved playing as Zero Suit Samus and Bayonetta.
I see that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different options that you can do. There's also like a Kamehameha that you get. That's your super special
Sold.
move.
I'm sold.
Yep, I knew it.
Any game that gives me a giant laser that I can shoot from my hands, I'll be happy.
You got a low price tag.
I really do. I'm a cheap date.
One criticism though that I do definitely have that I had throughout the game. So the so the dodge has a cooldown, right? And your character flashes a bit when it can be used again. But with all the chaos on the screen, I was never looking at my character at all. My eyes were always focused on the enemies, sometimes not even the ones I was hitting at the time, sometimes the ones that I was gonna move on to and then hit. And I wish that when your dodge could be used again, that there would be like an audio cue with like an option to turn that off in the options screen for those that don't like it. But I think that something like that would have helped me out, where like, you know, your character goes, all right, or yes, or something like that. Or even if it's just like a, I don't know, some sort of sound effect that's like ring or something like that. I don't know. I am not an audio person. All I can say is that as a person who plays video games, that was sort of my impression when I was playing the game. Because there were a couple of times I was like, ooh, I want to dodge right now. Oh, wait, it didn't come back yet.
Huh. It's also very interesting that they would put a cooldown on that dodge.
It makes sense. Like, even if you go to, like, Bayonetta again, she can dodge 3 times in a row, then she has, for lack of better word, a cooldown on that third dodge. Because if you could just keep dodging infinitely, then not only would that look terrible, but it would break the mechanics of your game. You can just dodge through everything.
Gotcha.
So, I'm super cool with the cooldown. Oh! Oh no. But I wish that there was shut up. But I wish that there was a little bit of an extra cue, whether it was visual or audio, that, you know, helped me realize rather than just kind of guessing like, okay, do I have my dodge yet?
Yeah.
But anyway, it is a super charming little experience that I could not put down. Feels very, very satisfying to play. It is everything I had hoped that the retail release would be back when I played the game originally in June at E3. So check it out. It's on the eShop for like, I think $15. It just came out this week. Super Crush KO.
Very cool. Very cool.
Lovely visual audio brawler indie experience.
And I can't remember. Did you say that you were able to get through it at least once, or
the whole game? I did. Yes, I beat the whole game. So it's not a long game by any means, and you just kind of go back. They have like little what are those called? Objectives that you can do throughout the game, so you can, you know, chase after your score and stuff like that. I'm not a score chaser kind of person, but I definitely had fun being like, okay, I can't get hit here, so that way I can get the little medal, that kind of achievement thingy. I had nice fun with that.
Nice. Very nice.
So Galen, it is time.
Dun 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 dun.
To join Smash.
Wow, I actually forgot the Smash theme for like 2 seconds, and I was about to do the Metal Gear Solid theme instead.
Oh my god. I really don't like the Smash theme, to be honest. I've talked about this all the way like over a year ago.
Okay, so before we continue,
oh my god,
do you like the Ultimate theme, or do you prefer the Brawl theme?
Oh, I hate the Brawl theme.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, moving on.
I hate the Brawl theme. I don't even remember the Ultimate theme, but it was probably better than that one.
Da, 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 da.
I hate it. Stop it. That's the Brawl one. I hate it. This one, honestly, the Smash Ultimate theme, not bad. It's just I really don't like the pacing of the English words. They keep the exact same meter as the Japanese version. Japanese has way more syllables in its speech and its singing, so you say fewer things with more syllables. And then when you do that to English, you have to change the meter. But they didn't. And so it just sounds like they're trying to fit words in there, and it just sounds like they're making up the lyrics as they sing. Just drives me nuts. I've heard that so many times when a Japanese song gets translated to English, and so it really sticks out to me.
Yeah.
But guess what else sticks out?
What?
Oh no.
Where are you going with this?
Oh no, I don't know. Byleth in Smash, not Byleth. I refuse to say that. Byleth in Smash.
I'm sure that was one of like the 7 naming jokes that Sakurai made during the actual thing. Did you catch that, by the way?
Oh, I caught all of it, and I put it in a sack, and I brought that sack to the podcast, and we're gonna open it up, and we're gonna talk about my sack.
As long as it doesn't stick out.
Oh no, do I need to mark this episode as explicit?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
What have you done to us?
No, you ruined it, not me. No, Sakurai ruined it. Because guess what? Bringing it back around, everybody apparently thinks that this episode, this week in Smash Bros. News, everyone thinks that Sakurai ruined Smash by putting Byleth in Smash as the 5th DLC character. Wow, was this a week in terms of people having opinions.
Yeah, so let's talk about those opinions.
Here we go. So, what happened this week, in case you missed it because you live under a rock and you don't have your Switch underneath that rock?
Yes, you are listening to the Nintendo Everything podcast and you haven't heard this news yet.
Thank you so much for being so dedicated to this podcast. Anyway, Byleth, the main character, the player character from Fire Emblem Three Houses. Shut up, shut you.
I know you haven't completed it yet, but come on. Do your research before the show.
Oh my god. You sound like a punctured tire.
I don't care. I was really happy with how that came out.
Oh my god. That's how you were happy with? Boy, raise your standards, bro. Anyway, Byleth. He's in Smash. She's in Smash. They are in Smash. And this is quite interesting because leading up to this, the first 4 characters that we had in the DLC pack were all third-party characters. They were all newcomers in their series, I believe.
Yes. One can make an argument about Piranha Plant.
Piranha Plant was not a DLC character from the DLC pack, though. He was separate.
I guess that's a good point.
Yes.
All right.
And they're all third-party characters. So we got, what do we got? Joker. Who was number 2?
Hero.
Hero was number 2? I thought it was 3. Okay, so Joker, Hero, Banjo.
Number 3 was Banjo.
Oh, and then
number
Terry.
4 was Terry. Yeah.
Okay. So all those are newcomers, right? So everybody's like, okay, who is the third-party character that's going to be in this? Like, who doesn't have representation in Smash? And then Sakurai was like, boom, twisted again. M. Night Shyamalan, M. Night Sakurai. It's Byleth from the most represented series in Super Smash Bros. Fire Emblem.
Almost. Almost. I actually looked it up. It is 3rd most represented. So Fire Emblem has 8 characters from their series. The Mario series has 9, 10 if you include Yoshi, which I checked on their website. They consider Yoshi its own franchise, oddly enough.
He should be.
And Pokemon has 10 if you include all the different variations for Pokemon Trainer, i.e. Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard.
Huh, I didn't think about that. Okay.
Yeah, but it's close. Like, I also went through, and just because I knew this was going to come up, I counted the number of sword users that are now in Smash Bros., and we're up to 18.
18?
Yes. Honestly, I thought that number would be higher.
Sounds like we need more representation from Fire Emblem with Lance and Axe users, so that way we can complete this weapon triangle. You know what we just need is a Fire Emblem fighting game?
I'd be down for that.
That's all we need.
I would be down. Yeah.
So, the kind of player surrogate is Byleth, and they are in Smash Bros, and everybody hates it. So, very unpopular character right now just because everybody was like, Gino, Dante, the choir kids, like, I don't even know, whatever.
I was about to say, before we go into the internet's invalid opinions, what are your opinions
aren't invalid, it's just that they are loud, that's all.
I'm invalidating their opinions based on what they are based on, but we can talk about that in a bit.
What are you sitting in a throne and you're invalidating it with your scepter?
Yes, absolutely.
No one is a person of your kingdom. You are not a person of lordly caliber. You do not have any black queens in which to march.
How little do you know?
We will not cling together. These are all ogre tactics references. The one person out there listening to this that knows that, I love you.
Yeah. I got it.
Shut up. I know what that is.
I want to know what your opinions are of this character.
Okay. Yeah. I was underwhelmed by the announcement of this character just because I think, like everybody else, I was thinking third-party characters. I don't have too much skin in this game, though, because there's so many damn characters in Smash Bros. That I'm just like, put them all in. Sure, just, whatever. Just come join the party. I don't even remember who I invited anymore. You know what I mean? Who's here? I don't know. We're all drinking. We're drinking, Karen. We're having conversations. It's fine. So I didn't have disappointments or anything, but I was definitely underwhelmed just because we were all in a totally different mindset. And I don't know. I want to say that like Nintendo certainly set up not expectations, but definitely a mindset with the way that they went with this. I think it would be more interesting for them to announce Byleth in the next character pack, and they just said that like, okay, all these character packs are not going to be like the first character pack. They're going to be literally anybody, literally anything, like that kind of thing. Not that they like set up this character pack and said, okay, this is what they will be or anything like that. But the precedent, by looking at the first 4 characters, is certainly following a few supposed criteria, right?
Well, and I want to ask, did they ever go on record or like make a point of pointing out that, most of these are coming from third parties?
They did not, as far as I know. Everybody listening, if I am incorrect or whatever, please write into us and let us know at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com. But I don't think that they really said anything about like here are the rules for this character pack. Not at all. So, and I think that that's important to mention.
Yeah, and I will 100% agree with you on that one. And that's why part of why I'm, invalidating the internet's opinion of why isn't this a third-party character. It's like, you came up with that rule on your own. That was never, like, you were working under that own handicap. You never said that this was an actual thing.
Yeah, but I do want to be realistic about it, though, and be like, I totally understand why everybody had that expectation. Because I also had the same one, just because they sort of gave us a bit of a precedent with that. So
it's true.
So with that said, it was underwhelming that it was Byleth. In terms of the actual character themselves, it's weird because Byleth is the audience surrogate, and a little bit more than, like, say, Robin was the audience surrogate in their respective game. Same thing with Corrin in their respective game. Byleth feels a little bit more passive than those two characters. I haven't beaten 3 houses yet, and stuff does happen to him, her, them, whatever.
To your character.
to your character, but they are very much the audience surrogate. So like, I was more excited about like the stage and like the characters that they show off in the different parts of the stage than I was about Byleth themselves. Just because I love all those other characters, and I'm like, oh, cool, them, and they have so much personality, and Byleth by design doesn't have much personality, so it was just kind of it was mixed. It was mixed, but I don't feel super strongly about any of it. But I do understand people who have a kind of middling level of disappointment. I get it.
Yeah, I definitely feel that this character had a lot of lost potential to it. If you look at the mechanics, and they really put a lot of emphasis on the, oh, hey, you have the 4 legendary weapons, or is it 3 or 4? Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. You can switch your weapons in mid-combat. This is going to be something similar to, like, Pokemon Trainer, how you can switch between the different Pokemon and it changes up your fighting style. I think that is a great mechanic to add to this character, but that's not what happened.
Yeah. When they showed the trailer, that was my interpretation as well, but that's not the case, right?
Exactly.
please tell us a little bit more about the mechanics, because I'm a little light on that.
So, from what I understand, a bunch of its the move sets that your character has is linked to what direction you are attacking with. So, it's a little bit like Marth and Roy's multi-attack, but it's the same basic thing. So, if you do your forward smash, you're using the spear. However, if you are using your up smash, it's actually the sword instead. What I feel that kind of cheapens the character a little bit, because they do give some interesting facets to it. Like with the spear, they said once you are charging the attack, you can angle it either up or down for it to be a more precise hit. And also that you do more damage at the tip of the spear as opposed to the center of it. So it's kind of that throwback to what Marth can do, or Marth versus Roy. That said, it's like we've seen all this kind of stuff before. Like, the moves we've seen are copied from other characters. I've seen Zero Suit Samus's whip and his ability to fling it up in the air when you're doing your up attack. When you jump up in the air and do your aerial attack, it's a spinning one that he uses with a bow. That's Pit's spinning area or aerial attack.
Yeah, but I don't really feel that every character needs to break the mold. You know what I mean?
I would disagree in this case, because even at the end of the episode, Sakurai went on to say, hey, look, we've been really trying to focus on what we can do with these DLC characters as far as introducing new mechanics and new aspects. Uh-huh. And this feels more like what they did with Banjo, where it's a very straightforward character. It's not changing much of the game with it, as opposed to something like Hero or Joker.
But think about a menu, okay? A menu of food, where you're like, okay, I got my things in the forefront, the things that are really pushing the boundaries. I got my things for the eclectic people, but then I also got my solid meat and potatoes and stew, and you gotta have things that balance things out. If you keep making everything be like the brand new thing that changes everything, mechanics wise, not only are you asking to break your own game, but you're also gonna lessen, I think, the next thing or the previous thing that came before the next thing, just because it's too much of one direction. You know what I mean? Well,
and the thing is that I totally agree with you that we need that balance, and we need that, that palate cleanser sometimes. But I feel like there's been a lot of emphasis put onto what this last character is that they are putting into this DLC pack. I mean, if you look back at the last time they did a DLC pack for the last Smash game, the last character we got was Cloud. And that was something that we never, ever thought would have ever happened in a Nintendo fighting game.
Sure, but I mean, whatever. With the mechanics, Cloud wasn't too crazy. He had his limit charging thing, but I mean, that's the thing I'm saying right now, is that even me looking back on that, be like, no, it's not that too crazy. When it was announced, it was a little more crazy, but when you keep pushing how it changes and changes and changes with each character, then you're gonna look back on your old stuff and you're gonna be like, whatever. And it's you want it to be substantial and hold on its own, right? So I don't know, I just don't think that they need to break the mold with every character.
Even looking at their Final Smash, Byleth's Final Smash is...
Don't say Byleth. Not in my presence.
Byleth?
Yes.
I don't want to say Byleth.
That's what it is.
Because it sounds like Bill Lee. Okay, Byleth.
What do you have against our listener, Mr. Lee?
Ken Lee. Ken Lee, I live without you.
Ken Lee made you more.
No, but his Final Smash, or Byleth's Final Smash.
Good job.
I felt like this could have been an excellent chance to kind of showcase what made Three Houses special. You could have had something similar to Shulk's Final Smash, where you had Claude and Edelgard and Dimitri come in and do this conjoined attack that's just really kind of shows the unity and you being able to team up with these different students. but instead you get the progenitor god Rise of the Elder Lolly, and it's just it's it's a flashy super move that we've seen with plenty of other characters, which I'd like to point out I've been seeing a lot with their DLC stuff.
Okay, so let me unpack that. Dialing it back here, yes, I agree with you. I was a little underwhelmed with the final smash. I was like, oh, they could have done so many other different things. Instead, it's just, a JPEG of Soltis. And I was like,
literally a JPEG.
Yeah. But also, Soltis is actually a really, really cool character. Mm-hmm. When I saw her design and everything, I was like, oh, great, she's going to be one of those kind of things. But, she's a very strong character, and she does not, turn into, the, Goshujin-sama, that kind of character at all. Mm-hmm. She's very no-nonsense, and she talks like a regal, angry person. And I enjoy that. So I do like that character, so I'm cool with that. But, yeah, I do wish that they had, done something different that showed off the other characters, because that's the strength of Fire Emblem Three Houses, is all of its characters, far and above.
Looking at this objectively, would you say that this final smash represented the essence and the ultimate power of the character in this game? Not knowing anything and not having played Fire Emblem Three Houses, if this is the first time you're being exposed to this character, would you get a sense of that from this? I mean,
for reasons, this does make good sense for this character. To represent the game, though, I think that it would be cooler to bring in some of the other characters, like you said. Mm-hmm. But that was the other thing I wanted to mention, though, is that you are not necessarily united with those three main characters, Edelgard, Claude, and Dimitri.
They're
all
and
totally
I
different.
Just and I also use them as an example just because they're the most relatable for me to say. But, I mean, it could have been any number of different characters to that. I think it would have been really cool if, depending on the costume that you wore, it changed up the characters that you used.
Yes, I had that exact same thought. I was going to bring it up in the sense that would cost a lot of money, and it would be, very development intensive to, set up those different things.
Sakurai is already okay using JPEGs for their backgrounds. I don't see why that would have been an issue.
No. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be realistic here, but also be that would be the coolest. If you chose the Black Eagles colors, then you would get those characters, the ones that they already have character models for, doing, some combo attacks with Byleth. That would be really cool. And so on and so forth for the color.
That would have made this character so much more unique. But I mean, ultimately,
in a visual sense, because it wouldn't affect anything. It would just be a visual sense. But I would really have liked that.
Yeah. Well, and one of my favorite moments of playing Mega Man for the first time was using his final smash and seeing all the characters jump out. And
that was super cool.
Was exactly. Ultimately, I feel like Byleth was kind of slapped together.
Oh, that's unfair to say.
Well, and it's also unfair to make these kind of accusations without the character actually being out and getting my hands on it. But, I mean, from just what I've seen, this is part of the I'm trying to be critical because we have 6 more characters that are going to be coming up.
Yeah.
And
they're all Pokemon.
I would not be surprised by that. Oh, what if one of the new characters is going to be Cubfu?
Who?
Cubfu.
I know it less the more you keep saying it.
It's the Pokemon that they talked about in the Direct last week.
Oh, like Urshifu in that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Urshifu is the advanced one. That's why I didn't remember Cubfu.
I know, but Cubfu is just so cute.
I like the panda with the leaf in his mouth. What's his name? Pandafu? Whatever. Pokemon.
No, I think that's Jack Black.
Jack Black, the Pandafu? Oh, because Kung Fu Panda.
There you go. Now you're getting the joke. Welcome to the party.
References for the sake of references. Galen's humor in a nutshell.
To be fair, that was a little bit more on point when it came to random references.
It was. It's not like you're in one of those scary movie things.
Those are terrible.
They're the absolute worst. Anyway, going back to Byleth, Yeah, underwhelming in general. However, I do like their fighting style, and I was intrigued by a lot of the stuff that they were saying for the fighting, and I don't know, I think it's cool. And yeah, sure, bring them on, whatever. I do think that Nintendo made a bit of a mistake to make them the fifth character, just because, you know, they led people on a bit in terms of what they set up before. Like, you can't look at this lineup of 5 characters and be like, one does not look like the other. You know what I'm saying?
They No Man's Skied us. They didn't correct us when we started making assumptions.
Nobody has No Man's Sky to anybody but No Man's Sky.
That's true.
So do not even with that comparison. So anyway, that character, they didn't give a release date for them or a window?
I thought they said it was coming out soon, like rather soon?
All I remember is them saying that they need a little more time to work on the character. So basically don't expect it, like, you know, to be downloadable today or whatever.
I might be getting that confused with the amiibos that they were talking about, because the amiibos actually are out now.
Oh, God.
Because amiibos, they're still a thing.
Well, of course they are.
And I still bought the new ones.
Of course you do.
I'm excited about Dark Samus. You're excited about Richter because of them abs. So.
I'm excited about both of them for very different reasons. That's it for Byleth. The internet's reactions were freaking out. I'm sure that anybody who like genuinely freaked out is not listening to this podcast. I think that they would not really be on board with a lot of both of our opinions of being like a bit more logical and a bit more like, listen, chill, don't jump off of a bridge just because the 5th DLC character was not Gino, you know?
Yeah.
But if you did have like a really genuinely angry, you know, reaction, do a little bit of self-reflection. Like, I get disappointment for sure, I get excitement for sure, but like, you know, at the end of the day, it's still a video game, and like there's still like other stuff happening. There's still 90 other freaking characters to play. Just
it's an extra character for an over-year-old game. So,
well, whatever. I mean, whatever. I don't know. Just don't buy into manufactured outrage, and don't play into it, you know?
Yeah.
Be stronger. Be stronger than the want inside of you. Does that make sense?
And hey, if you don't like the character, there's always the new meat costumes.
That's true. We have... That's your cue. I don't remember who is in the... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we did get a couple of new meat costumes with this. We have Altair from Assassin's Creed. He is the sword fighter. You have Rabbids, which is just a hat, so they can literally go on any character.
I thought it was cute the way that they introduced them, though, just like the Mario and Rabbids game. That was cute.
Oh, yeah. I very much appreciated that, actually. They brought not only Mega Man X, but they also brought over Mega Man.exe.
Oh, that's gunners. Right. When I saw that, I thought about you.
You know what? I was actually listening to our old, or last week's podcast, and, you know, Mega Man Battle Network's name was invoked, and then this came out. I'm looking at that as fate.
Was that Jay that wrote into us that said that?
I think so, yeah. So, Jay, good job. Keep it coming. Come on, we got to keep this train rolling. We're going to get a Mega Man Battle Network sequel eventually if we just keep on pushing.
Come on, ride the train and ride it.
And then also, I thought this one was a little bit surprising. Another gunner class in Cuphead.
And that is just straight up Cuphead's model.
Yeah, it's straight up him.
I really appreciate them doing that.
Yeah, his gun is even just his little finger guns, which I really like.
Yeah.
It is worth mentioning that if you do get the Cuphead one, it does also come with new music with it as well.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. And that's all the new costumes that they have, and they're just like 75 cents each, which I think is a great price for these, you know, just cosmetic costumes. It adds a little bit of fun to it. It's interesting that we didn't get any costumes for the Brawler, which is my preferred Mii class. So, meh.
Who cares?
I guess. Well, that's the other thing. Like, a lot of these costumes are coming out for the Mii, but you don't really see the Mii as playable characters all too often. I have a crazy crackpot suggestion.
Okay.
What I would love to see is if, in addition to the Mii costumes, in a similar vein, you could also buy additional costumes for some of the other characters that you would play as. So, like, for example, if you wanted an alternate costume for Link, you could buy a costume in the same price, like 75 cents or something cheap like that. And you can play as the Hyrule Warrior version of Link on the basic Link costume.
Yeah, I just don't like that it's like, buying with, small purchases. I don't want to say microtransaction. I don't know, maybe it is technically a microtransaction, but...
No, this would totally go into microtransaction territory, but we're already there with these Mii costumes, and I just feel like a lot of what they're doing is kind of wasted on just the Mii itself.
I don't know, I just don't like any of that. I would just rather that they add them in through like free updates if you bought the Fighters Pass, just to like incentivize people, like trying to think realistically here. I would want them just all added for free. That's what I would really want. But I understand if they're like, okay, these are added and included in as long as you bought the Fighters Pass. You know what I mean?
Actually, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah,
that's kind of my middle ground between no, that's what I want versus what is realistic,
Yeah. So, anyway, I just thought that'd be a cool idea.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of, loading a game up with microtransactions that doesn't need it. Because then, like, what's next is like, oh, you can buy it through the coins that you earn through the game. You can also purchase coins if you want for $39.99. You know what I mean? That's just like where it's going to go next,
I really hope it doesn't go that way, but yeah. I see where you're coming from.
You're being a catalyst to making it happen. That's what I'm saying. So anyway, the internet is upset, and I think on the YouTube video at the time of talking, there's like around 110,000 likes. There's around 63,000 dislikes, so it's literally like 2/3 of all of the clicked is dislikes. I don't know. I get it, you're voicing your opinion with a like or a dislike, but don't freak out, please. Like, just voice your opinion for sure.
Yeah. But, like I said before, we have 6 other characters. So.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna tell anybody that their opinions are invalid on, whether they like or dislike this character. It's totally fine. Totally voice your opinion. Don't get so upset you want to break down Sakurai's door. That man doesn't give a shit about nothing right now. Did you notice the first 20 minutes of that entire introduction was him counting binary on one hand? That man,
which is
doesn't
awesome, by the way.
Care. No, it was not awesome, and you stop it. You are the catalyst for all the wrong things in Smash Bros.
Dude, I'm sorry. Binary hand counting is impressive. I'm just saying.
Hand count and then binary the fingers right across your face with a slap.
10101 at me, bro.
Shut up. Anyway, then also I want to say, like, as a translator, that Fire Emblem joke with the Fire Emblem joke, like, totally doesn't translate for people. They should have just cut that out of the Western directs. Like,
I feel like a lot of it didn't translate over.
You need understanding of Japanese to get that joke. And then, like, I thought about, like, okay, I should put a talking point in here about that and then explain the joke. And I was like, no, I shouldn't, just because it's not funny or anything if it needs to be explained to you, and the amount of explaining that needs to go into it is not worth the outcome.
His paid employee laugh track thought it was pretty funny.
You mean the 2 guys behind the camera that, just like on a Japanese television show, every once in a while they go,
yeah, those are the ones.
That's what we need.
Oh god, is that my role on the show?
It clicks. It finally clicks. But anyway, that is Byleth in Smash. They also said there's going to be a DLC pack number 2 with 6 characters in it instead of 5 this time. So you guys get to do the same song and dance every friggin', 2 weeks for another year and a half. I don't even know.
You know, I heard from my uncle who works at Nintendo that number 6 is going to be Goku.
Sure, put everyone in. I don't even care. Put characters that are already in it in it. Dude, Mario Black. Like Goku Black.
Yeah, I'm just imagining Mario with pink hair. Is that weird?
No.
Alright. Moving on.
And lastly, just very briefly, we'll talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses Wave 4 of the DLC. It's called Cindered Shadows. And it stars the ridiculous concept of a fourth house in three houses called the Ashen Wolves that live underneath the ground of the Garrigmach Monastery.
Hey, you know, every school has their goth clique that just lives beneath the bleachers and writes slam poetry and just talks about how feudal life is.
I wish that they would have gone even further in that dumb idea with it, though. They started off with the DLC by saying that they live in Abyss, and Abyss is home to those who shun the light of day. So
Okay.
whatever, give me more Fire Emblem Three Houses, four houses now, characters to fawn over. Fine.
Mhm.
I like it, I love it.
And hey, it comes out right before Valentine's Day, so you can spend your entire Valentine's Day,
With your husband Balthus.
yeah, trying to date your new husbando.
That man has 19 abs, and he's showing you all 20 of them.
You know what? I'm not going to correct you on that.
You wouldn't after you see the picture of Balthus.
Is he the one who said he's the world's #1 grappler?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh god, here we go again.
Hey. Oh, I hope you can romance him as a dude. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, exactly. That is the mindset that you should
Everybody's
have.
Here.
Why not? Instead of like the comics where they do what if, things, like just do a why not.
Just why not?
Yeah, just So let's move on to additional DLC.
Nice.
Galen, what do you have to recommend to the people?
So this week I figured I'd lean a little bit more in the creative direction.
Finally.
Yeah. I'm recommending this video simply titled I Made GameCube Joy-Cons. It's a custom mod video where the user Shank Mods takes an old Wavebird wireless controller and cuts it in half, paints it, and basically puts the guts of a Joy-Con into the controller while making some quality of life improvements like updated shoulder buttons and clickable analog sticks. It's kind of inspiring to see the crafting community and the tech community coming together because he did a lot of soldering and he also reached out to one of his friends who deals a lot in controller mods. And I appreciated the simplistic approach that he took while putting the video together. So give it a look. I really enjoyed it.
Lovely. I am recommending kind of two videos, but mainly the first one. It's a two-parter. It is a YouTube analysis of the television sitcom from the early 90s, Roseanne, starring Roseanne Barr.
Huh.
The YouTuber is just called Jose, and he has a lot of really interesting kind of analysis or review videos on television shows like that. Like they did Home Improvement and stuff, American TV shows from the 90s. And Roseanne's a really interesting one just because Roseanne as a human being is a dumpster fire and has said awesome things and horrible, heinous, hideous things as well. And I do not like that human being. However, their television show was interesting in the kind of progressive views and the topics that it talked about compared to all the other television shows at the time. And this guy Jose does a great job of breaking it down and not going into the long critique for the sake of making a long video kind of thing. Like it's actually a substantial video and really relaxing to listen to. And it's cool to hear him bring up how they talked about depression in the show, how they talked about a family that is broken but is in contrast and also in reflection of genuine families and TV families. So It's very interesting. Recommend Jose's video on it.
Nice.
Now, let's move on to the mail. The listener mail. Our spookiest. It makes me so spooky. Oh, wait, no, I can't say it anymore. Damn it. Galen, if people had the internet, where would they send us an electronic mail?
We only receive mail through snail mail. You have to send it through carrier pigeon.
Galen.
You can send those emails to us at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
You can fertilize him at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Knew you were going to bring that back. God damn it.
Pour all of your manure on top of Galen.
It's the internet.
And you might smell a little bit like this.
So, this week we have a response from Chris. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Yo, Chris, thanks for writing in.
Yeah, Chris is responding to the question that I posted last week in regards to our debate on kind of the definition of games as a service and like what criteria that actually falls in. We were talking a little bit about Pokemon, or the new Pokemon expansion packs, and the way that they're handling their business, whether that can be considered a games of a service or not. So, Chris writes in, World of Tanks, Destiny, PUBG, Fortnite, Pokemon Go are service games. Most are multiplayer and have free or low-cost entry, but all are based online and designed to keep you buying. In a World of Tanks, you can play for free, but tanks forever to level up. So you kind of need to buy gold to convert your experience points to level up your tanks. Most games as a service have daily, weekly, special missions to keep you coming back, slow progression until you spend real money, and most cannot be played solo and requires online connection. Pokemon Go is a service as opposed to Let's Go Pikachu and Sword and Shield. The DLC does not indicate a service. Alright. Thanks for writing in, Chris.
Thank you for agreeing with the side of reason, Chris. Everyone agrees with me, Galen.
Not necessarily true.
Everyone agreed with me. I got so many messages like on Twitter, and we got some more emails on this.
I'm going to call out one of our, the people who actually left a comment on our Nintendo Everything website last week by the name of Neptunius Beard.
Oh, yeah, he's real cool.
Yeah, he writes in, I kind of get what Galen was getting at with Pokemon being games as a service.
But
you can't apply that to any single Pokemon game as of yet.
Exactly.
But in a way, I guess home/bank is a way to get money out of people in between games. So I guess it's more of a franchise as a service. Personally, I have zero interest in maintaining my party between gens. I'm Ash in this piece.
Yeah, so he's totally right where he's like, I get where Galen's coming from with this, but he's wrong.
So the definition that I gave last week was actually one that I wanted to know kind of the history of, would it be right to call this a game as a service, or what is the actual definition of that trend?
And the answer was no.
And the definition that I gave did actually come from the internet. Specifically, it came from Wikipedia.
I know, but like the definition that you read is why it does not qualify as a game as a service, bro.
True. However, I will concede that this game will not fit the definition of games as a service, as in something that you have to subscribe to or get those monthly transactions in. I would, and this is kind of what I was more getting at, I was just using games as a service more to kind of bookend this into a category of the Pokemon franchise is really kind of taking a more longevative approach to how they are giving us Pokemon.
Yeah.
And we can see that in the DLC. Like, I don't see this as a response to people's critique about the Pokedex not being fulfilled right from the very beginning, or not being able to transfer everything. Like, I feel like this was very intentional right from the beginning, and that this was going to be their plan. And my points of, instead of, yes, you're not getting this third game that you normally would, you're not getting Pokemon Gun, but instead you're getting the 2 expansion packs, which cost almost as much as what we would normally be charged for that. And part of that big content pack is all of these Pokemon that are coming along with it. I can see how they are making more monetary decisions in how they are producing the games, as opposed to putting all of that foresight into it right from the beginning and saying, here is your presented game and we will give you newer, better content. They're piecemealing it to us, as opposed to giving us a full course right from the beginning.
I disagree though, because that's kind of jumping into the boat with people that are like saying that the game is incomplete. You know what I mean? I don't see that at all. I see what they're doing right now to be very similar to what they were doing before, where it's just like, instead of the ultra version or whatever it is, you're getting it as DLC instead. And some of the decisions that they made are weird and like I don't agree with, but like this isn't one of those. And yeah. I also want to go back to like what you were saying with like the games as a service stuff. Like, I totally agree with like Neptunia's beard and like what you said right now, explaining yourself about, what you were trying to bring up. But your problem was that you were asking like, is Pokemon Sword and Shield games as a service? And the answer was no. But then like your message of like the other thing that you actually really wanted to say was getting hidden by like all the other stuff that you were talking about with the word games as a service, because the answer to that question is no, it is not. And like with what Chris said here, the real takeaway here is let me reread what he said right here with designed to keep you buying. That is, I think, a cornerstone of games as a service.
And I will actually go ahead and concede that in the more narrowed down definition of games as a service, that
you keep dialing it back where you're like, I'll take a step away, but instead you're like pushing. You know what I mean?
Well, and here's my question that I have on this, because this is not the first game that we have seen something like this, where they've come out with a product and then they have added, like, they've intentionally withheld items or features or characters or whatever it is for the sake of coming out with, what is it I want to say? With, like, expansion packs and things like that. And this is not a new thing. This has been going on for a while in a bunch of different genres, franchises, whatever you want to consider it. So I will concede that the original definition of games as a service that incorporated planning those things does not count.
Yeah.
But what can we call that?
It's not comparable, so stop talking about games as a service. That's what I'm going to say, because that's just going to hurt your discussion of like, well, what do we call this? Like, I don't know, modern gaming. Modern gaming, and there's a whole bunch wrong with it. That's what it is. And in terms of like withholding content or something like that, that's kind of the muddy waters of, it's like, well, it was designed like this from the beginning, so is that really withholding? You know what I mean? That's not like they took something out of the game, or that something is in the game already but they put it behind a paywall. You know what I mean? What was it? Street Fighter cross Tekken and Tekken cross Street Fighter is a perfect example of like the content was there and all they did was hide it behind a paywall where now you can play the other version kind of thing. And I mean, Pokemon has always done this with the whole like 2 versions of one game. Like, they can put all of the Pokemon or all of the things in one game, but they still choose to sell 2 versions of the game. That is really the big genuine problem with Pokemon, but nobody's talking about it because they've always done that and they have always continued to do that. And here they are talking about things where it's like, well, the game's incomplete. It's like, it's not really incomplete. It was designed like this from the beginning, because when you're outlining your design process and your future process of DLC, the idea of DLC comes up in the designing stages. development starts probably a little bit later or with a different team, with a separate budget. That's how projects are made in general in businesses, not just in video games. So to say that they're withholding is not correct exactly, but it's the muddy waters, you know? Sometimes it falls under semantics. It's just modern gaming. That's really all it is. Modern gaming and extending the experience through DLC. It's weird because they do have like Pokemon Home, and like before it was Pokemon Bank, where it's the supplementary service that's separate from your video game, but it acts as your medium or your vessel to get things moved through. So, you know, I get that it's weird and that it's almost unique, but I don't know. You can't really define it right now, and I think that that's sort of the takeaway.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, everybody, for writing in and telling Galen that he was so wrong and that I was so right. Couldn't have asked for a better group of listeners.
Thanks, everyone.
No, stay in the corner. You stay right there.
Memories, all alone in the moonlight. Sorry.
And I'm the gay one. You're over here singing What's-Her-Face, Bette Midler.
What?
Is that not... Oh, wait. Okay.
Barbra Streisand.
Now, that is an extra layer of joke of me, like, being a bad gay and you being an extremely good gay. And you're the one married to a woman.
Jokes on jokes, people.
It's very layered. So what's coming up? What's coming out on Nintendo Everything? We got more translations that I did coming out of Famitsu, and that's on like Kamiya and Yoko Taro and Taura from Platinum Games. Well, two of those are from Platinum Games. Yoko Taro is his own freakazoid beast. Welcome to the club. And then we also got some Persona 5 Scramble details coming up that I did translations for. And we got so much more other stuff coming up that I don't even know about it. So you want to know about it by going to nintendoeverything.com. We're posting countless times throughout the day, throughout the night, no matter where you are in the world. Stay up to date with us by staying connected to us on Twitter at nineverything. And I just remembered that I didn't thank everybody who wrote and commented and everything like that. This episode is off the rails. My mind is at 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Write into us at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
That email one more time is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
And Nintendo Everything has a YouTube. That's youtube.com/nineverything. And then what else do I have to promote? I don't remember.
Do you have a YouTube?
I do. It's on a mini hiatus. I'm very sorry for it. My YouTube is called Game Married. I play video games with my husband Cliff. We are on a little bit of a vacation right now, except that I'm still working. So it's a working holiday is what it is, and I'm trying to just kind of sort things out. So I'm sorry, the YouTube is on a bit of a hiatus. We will be back, so you can subscribe to Game Married because we will be back.
I'm waiting to see you finish your shaky booty Shantae playthrough.
Hey. Okay, we'll do it.
Still working on that 30%. Huh?
Like Capcom, we do it. Yarimasu yo. And come chat with me about video games and tell me how great I am on my Twitter. I don't know, I'm sorry. On my Twitter, Oni_Dino. And then on my Instagram, which you can super check out like right now, because I'm going to be taking lots of Instagram pictures and videos of my husband and I hanging out.
All the vacation. Yeah,
we're on a little mini vacay right now, so come hang out with me on my Instagram. I'll be very active this week and next week especially. That's Oni_Dino.
Can I make a request of a UFO mukbang?
That's a whole video though. But yeah, we will go get some UFO chicken.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just for
I have
Galen.
to live vicariously through you.
I mean, you can just get fried chicken and cheese. You can just. Yeah, it's not like you're not in America right now.
But you can also do that while ordering whiskey highballs and, just getting dirty looks from all the foreigners saying that you use way too much sauce.
What? Did that happen to you?
Yeah, that totally happened at me. Remember when we got gyoza?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you use way too much sauce.
I wanted to have the proper amount of soy sauce.
And then you wanted that times 3. Also, whiskey highball, you can just make that yourself. Do you know what that is? Whiskey highball is just whiskey, soda water, and a twist of lime, or lemon.
Yeah,
that's literally it.
That's like saying I want to go to a Japanese arcade and there's like, okay, here's a gift card to Dave & Buster's. Like, okay, technically you're right, but it's not the same thing.
That is the most incorrect comparison. That's like saying, oh, I want to play a video game. And it's like, oh, well, you have a video game right there in your living room. Like, go ahead, you can play it. And then you're like, yeah, but I want to play a video game somewhere else. This podcast sucks. Galen, where can people talk to you on Twitter?
You can apparently correct me and let me know what the hell we're talking about on Twitter at Mobius087.
Please, they can't do that within 250 or fewer characters.
And you can apparently see me make UFO chicken at home because, you know, taking all the fun out of it on Instagram. My handle is true_Mobius. God damn it. What is this episode?
We're just getting worse. That's it. I just get more awful. That's all I get.
What is this 2020? There's no hindsight here.
You know, it's like a jackpot roll. Wheel. That was the word I was looking for. It's like
try that again.
The wheel of fortune, and then you spin it.
I want to hear you say jackpot roulette wheel. I want to hear you say it.
For everything, Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo everything. Don't go see Cats.
Hey. Hey.